Hello everyone, welcome to the Art Workshop with Christopher Epling. Thanks for tuning in today. We have something special in store for you. Now I want to remind everyone that all of these videos can be found if you were to go to the holler.org. Those resources are available to you. There's a bunch of videos that have been created to help you through learning the first steps, the initial steps in basic drawing, which is really important for young artists interested in maybe even pursuing this as a career one day or as a general hobby. I also would like to thank Pike TV for having this show made available to the community. Pike TV does care about valuable cultural resources here in our region and fostering those talents and interest in a broad range of topics. So it's a great resource available to you, and I hope you take advantage of it, really. So what we're doing now, we're going to be breaking into a few different segments. We're going to actually, instead of an hour long, we're going to be doing 20-minute to 30-minute segments. This offers more of a diversity amongst the topics that we're going to be offering here on Pike TV, and also enables us to be able to produce more stuff that's interesting to you, the public, especially for the young artist looking to use this as a resource in learning how to gain more techniques and enhance their abilities with basic drawing. Now, before we get started today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the materials I'm going to be using. That's always as of interest, and it's just as important to know what's being used when an artist is working as to what they're actually producing. Now, we're going to be starting out today actually using a tablet. This tablet is a drawing tablet. You don't have to have one of these tablets to use at home in order to produce the things we're going to be producing. But it is very, very efficient whenever we're showing you the different techniques that we're going to be using in order to produce the types of work we're going to be producing today. From there, a little bit later on, we're going to be moving on to good old-fashioned paper, pencil and paper. And for that, I'm going to be using actually a mechanical pencil. The mechanical pencils that I'm using can be purchased at any hobby store or online. You can find these pencils here locally. You also need an eraser, of course, for mistakes. I do a lot of erasing with my work. You do not have to have a mechanical pencil to do these techniques or exercises with, but a regular 2B pencil or a 2H pencil will work just fine. Okay. Also, a little bit later, we're going to be inking. And for the purpose of inking today, I actually have a Pentel brush. Now, this Pentel brush can be purchased also at any hobby store, locally or online. They're fairly cheap as well. Now, there's other ways to ink your works. You can actually go out and purchase ink and use a brush to dip that in. This is the old school method, actually. All of the old school stuff that you may have seen from the early, what we call the golden era of comics, Jack Kirby and Will Eisner and all these folks, they used brushes. So they would dip their brush into ink and make the line. So we've advanced 10-fold since then with digital tablets and various other instruments that contain the ink right there in the cartridge for you, so you don't have to do a lot of dipping. So that's our resources. Today our topic actually is going to be something that a lot of students find probably one of the most requested characters and comic lines that I have. I visit a lot of schools, over 300 schools in total since 2010. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has to be one of the most popular of those. And I've brought with me today a book. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection. And if you notice, all of you who have actually are aware of the Ninja Turtle comic line, you know that there's something very interesting about this cover. They all have red bandanas on. Typically, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have different colored bandanas. But the reason that these have red is this is a collection, actually, of all of the early Ninja Turtle comics. They were produced at home, believe it or not, by two friends in Chicago, Illinois, Eastman and Laird. And the reason they have red bandanas is that the early comics were all in black and white. There were no color. So the reason there were no color was the Eastman and Laird, being two friends, they produced these comics using a Xerox machine, actually. So they had an idea for these four turtles that fall into a sewer, land in radioactive ooze. They mutate into teenagers, and they learn ninjutsu by a giant rat. All right, so that's the storyline, believe it or not. Well, they created these comics. They went around to different comic conventions, homemade comics stapled together, what we call mini comics today. They handed those out to various people, and a few landed in the hands of guys at Image Comics, and the rest is history. Now the Ninja Turtles are found on everything from tennis shoes to toothpaste. So today we're going to be learning how to draw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, one thing I'd like to stress to you as we move to the tablet here is that there's tons of different ways to actually draw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's different styles. If you follow the current line that's on television today, the animated series, it's a very different look than the early Ninja Turtles in the comic books. So the look of the Ninja Turtles evolve and have evolved over the years. We're going to be using a couple of different versions today. So we'll start out with the tablet. I'm going to show you how to draw the Ninja Turtles using the Marvel method. If you're unfamiliar with that, please resource the videos available on the Art Workshop, the Art Holler, found on the holler.org. Okay? You can learn more about the Marvel method. We'll be going over it some today. We're going to start out by learning how to draw these comic characters, and then from there we're going to move to paper and pencil, and we're going to be doing a little bit faster editing for you can see sort of a more quickened version of how to draw various looks of the turtles. Okay? Now the Marvel method is something we discussed earlier on in the Art Workshop, and basically what that means is when you're looking at anything you're considering drawing, you want to start out using shapes like this, like circles, ovals. You may use different types of ovals orientated in different ways. Now, these shapes that I've just shown you here all are just to get an idea of what I mean using the ovals and things. But for the purpose of using the Marvel method when drawing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you want to start out by looking at the general shape. Now, the general shape of the turtles, you start out with a circle for the head. Okay, I'm going to use this as our guideline. So we have the circle. This makes up the head portion. You're actually going to use an oval for the neck. Okay, we're going to then go into more of an oval shape for the shoulders. Now this looks nothing like the turtles as of yet, but the reason for that is all of these shapes come together later. You use these as a framework, as a skeleton to go by. Okay, we're going to put circles for the shoulders. You're going to have ovals for the upper arms. You have another smaller circle for the elbows. And if you notice, you're going to see that all of these shapes start to come together to form what looks like a body. And of course now at this point in the stage it doesn't look anything like the characters from the television or comic series, but that changes soon. We have an oval for the waist section here. Okay, we're going to have some more ovals for the upper part of the legs. And you can see how all of these shapes come together. All the comic artists out there, from Pixar to Disney to Marvel, they used this method to lay out a framework for their characters. Okay, it's really important to do this. It helps you with perspective. It's another word we went over in the Art Workshop. Please look up those videos when you have a chance. It's going to be really helpful for you to understand some of these terms. But it also helps with orientation. Now, orientation is another way of saying how you're looking at something, or how it's positioned anyway. So here we have a bunch of series of circles. Now again, this looks absolutely nothing like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon character, but when we go back and we start to refine these circles, the shape comes out more and more. It's really important to remember these to use as a guideline, and that's all. Let's zoom in now to where the actual head is up here. This is the turtle's head, and what we're going to do is we're going to use these shapes we've already established, and we're going to just add more detail to it. Now, the turtles have a large, almost like not a snout, but their jawline is very pronounced. So I'll draw another circle here to sort of symbolize the mouth portion of the turtles. Their jawline is thick, so I'm going to draw some more shapes around the sides here. This portion up here will be where the bandana will actually go. So the top of the head sticks out here. So I may draw just this shape up here at the top to show where the bandana is actually going to stop at. So the curve of the nose here. Alright, and then the jawline down here. This is actually the chin. Now you remember that I instructed you and shown you how to lay down that center line for the face and the head, and this goes true for the turtles as well. So you have this center line that runs down and across the middle of the face. This helps to show you where the eyes will be, where the mouth will be, things of that nature. Okay, this is the bandana. Later on we'll see how that plays in. So scroll down a little bit more. We have the neck here. The neck actually goes into a shell. So we'll start adding a little bit more detail here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over this in a minute in black. And you can really see then at that point how these things come together. The turtles have an elbow brace here, or a band. And we're going to include the shell portion. The shell portion is divided into 3 halves. So I'll go ahead and put those halves in here as I'm working. One here, second one here, and then we'll have the bottom one here. So those halves are very important to keep in mind. As we go down into the leg portions, the leg portion actually goes underneath the shell part here. So I'm just going to start adding these general shapes in, and I put detail over top of these shapes. These shapes are almost like a framework to go by. It's setting your guide, if you will, on where to draw what on your characters. Okay, and still this looks nothing though like a turtle, but that's soon going to change when we start to put in our detail with the black. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw in the knee pads and move down to the feet. Now the feet of the turtles, they have 2 toes. So for the purpose of drawing in those toes, you want to just have this oval shape first, which is right down here at the bottom. Okay, and at the end of those 2 oval shapes, just draw 2 letter C's. See how that's just like a letter C, and over here is going to be 2 backwards letter C's here, and that's going to help you in guiding where to put those marks later for the feet. Okay, so you wouldn't believe how simple, or how much, I'll say more easier it is a lot of ways to look at basic shapes when you're drawing. Don't get overwhelmed by the look of the finished piece. You want to pay attention to how things connect together. They have 2 fingers plus a thumb. So I'm just going to draw some ovals in here, one here, one there, and then one for the thumb. That's going to help guide me in a little bit when I switch to black. One here, another there, and then for the thumb. Okay, so far what we've created here is a framework to go by to create our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. The one thing that I left out will be in the back, and it'll be the shell. So the shell will come up and it'll go around the back of the turtle here and down along the sides. Okay, so we can now switch to black. Actually, I'll go in before we do that and work a little bit more on the face to show you how we're going to build this face up with the blue. Okay, the mask actually comes up where the eyes are, something like that. Okay, now, and the mask goes around the side of the head. We have the bend here for the nose, which is important, and then it goes back into the side of the head. Notice the fold of the fabric. When you're drawing anything that deals with fabric, be sure and keep in mind how fabric actually forms on a body, okay, or on what you're drawing. It wraps around things. It's not stuck to them, that kind of thing. So let's draw in now for the eyes. And the good thing about laying down this foundation is that if you need to go back and change later, you can. You're going to do a lot of erasing. You would do what actually be putting this together with a pencil, so that when you go back you can do some changes to it if needed. Okay. Alright, so we can have his mouth coming down like this, and around the side like this right here, okay? Something like that right there. All right. Make him a little more angry. Maybe he's getting ready to fight. There we go. All right. So now we can go ahead from what we've created so far, and we can start in using the black. Okay. I'm going to go over here and grab the black. Okay, I found the black now. We're going to go ahead and start inking over top of the blue lines that we've created for our turtle. And we're going to start at the top. And what I'm going to do is, you notice how the line for the top of the head have about 3 or 4 different ways we could go. There's a line here. You want to use this as a guide, okay? This is really, when you lay down those lines at the beginning, they're meant to simply help guide you. That's it. So when you start going back and changing things at this level, you want to remember that these things exist just to help guide you. You don't have to follow it line for line. You may draw around it. See, notice here how the bandana is coming a little bit too far over. I didn't want it that far over now. So I'm actually going to change it a little bit. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more like that, okay? And you can always change or work around what you've created. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly the way you've drawn it with your circles, okay? So just keep that in mind. It's real important. So we're going to follow our lines now with our black. This would be as if you were inking using your pen. You want to add more detail as you go along. And here in a little bit, when we switch over to the paper, I'm going to be drawing a few different styles of the turtles for you, so you can see how this plays in using the different styles. The Marvel method is a great way to adjust your characters and figure out what is the best way to get the style you're looking for using whatever it is you're drawing. Okay, so we'll go down to the neck. The neck will go down into the shell. So when we start working on the shell portion here, we have to follow those lines, increase the size of our brush a little bit. The turtles are made up of a series of ovals and circles and shapes like this, but most cartoon characters are as well. You can add the belt in. I really suggest you to go back, visit the holler.org, look at the videos that's been created so far, follow those videos, and they'll help you in getting an idea of how these different techniques and things like the Marvel method and using perspective and orientation and these things we've covered so far, how these things relate to one another when using or trying to create a cartoon character from scratch like this, okay? And now we're going to zoom out a little bit and see where we stand with our turtle. You can see here we have now the shell created, the head, the neck, and now we're going to move over up into the shoulder portion. The shoulders here, you want to follow your circles. There's a band here. This goes down into the elbow pad, which is found right here on the turtle. I haven't decided which turtle this is going to be yet, but if you're following along at home, and let's say you've created and you've watched these tutorials and you've come up with a few examples using these tutorials, I really suggest you to send those in to me. Go to holler.org, post those or send those directly to me so that we can show those here on the art workshop. We'd love to be able to showcase your work. This is about you. It's not about what I'm doing, it's about what you create. How are you using this workshop to enhance your own skills, and how you're using this workshop in order to enhance your abilities and your drawing, your basic drawing techniques. So send in those drawings to me at the holler.org. We will post those and showcase your work right here on the art workshop. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish this out in a little bit of a fast editing on this, and then we're going to switch to paper. And the paper version that we're going to be doing is different styles. Now remember, as you're watching this, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm doing, but you can use the Marvel method. You can see how the Marvel method is used on each one of those examples we show in a little bit, okay? So go ahead and finish out the turtle here. I'm going to give him some sort of a weapon. The turtles, I know a lot of the students watching will know the names of these guys, but the names of the turtles are Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael. And each one of these characters have a different weapon, I guess, that they specialize in. That's how it works. So we will make this guy maybe Leonardo. I'm sure that you'd like to be able to share it. I've had a huge response from the art gallery workshop. A lot of students really engaged, sending in a lot of their art. I'll try to put some of those up as we go along too. So right now we're going to switch over to paper form, and you're going to see a very fast editing of how to draw these. But remember, as you're watching those, use the Marvel method, apply that to what you're watching, and you'll be okay. All right? So let's switch over to paper now. Follow along with me. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is actually the action pose for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I guess we'll do Raphael. That'd probably be the best turtle for an action pose. What I want you to keep in mind is, although I'm sketching out separate parts here using the Marvel method, starting off with the shoulders and the head, you can separate or break down any drawing that you're working on into separate segments. So use a method, see, for the body now and the legs, and then you can fill that portion in with pencil a little bit later on. Now this is a little bit more advanced than the first turtle that we put together, but still the same principle applies here. Circles, ovals, and then adding detail. Now when inking, this is really where you can compensate for maybe some mistakes that you've made or areas that you'd like to refine a little bit better. And you can see now as I go over the body, I'm actually following the lines, but I'm not using the lines as set in stone. You can go underneath or over, or any way that really makes the drawing come out or fill in better. Inking is a completely separate portion to the process, but as you can see, using the Marvel method, you can bring a work to life from the ground up using these simple shapes. So that completes the speed drawing for Raphael. And as you can see, this version is a little different than the first we tried with the tablet. It's a little more advanced. Using the Marvel method, though, you can achieve just about any look you want. So start out by practicing the easier versions. Move on then to the more action style, action pose type of cartoon character or positioning. Now, one thing that I would like to ask, if you're watching this and let's say you try this at home, draw your own style, your own action pose, whatever it is from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle character line, and you want to send that to me and the folks here at theholler.org, please send it in. We'll post it, we'll share your work. How you do that is you visit the website, you click on the art gallery, and you can upload the link or send the link directly that way, okay? And again, for this week, we continue with the Marvel method. And we went into the Teenage Ninja Turtle line trying to see how we can use that method to achieve the look of the turtles. Tune in each art workshop. We're going to be doing various cartoon characters, designs, elements tied to our region. And really want to thank Pike TV and theholler.org for showcasing this as a resource for you. Please tune in every time we have an episode and send in your artwork. We want to make this about you and seeing your work around the region, okay? Thanks so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing and working with you next time on the Art Workshop. Again, I'm Christopher Epling, and keep drawing.